Hello my wonderful, beautiful friends. Guys, welcome back to r/EntitledPeople, where people truly believe that they deserve better than others because they're special in their own minds. And in today's episode, guys, OP's insane mom demands an organ transplant from him, and it gets freaking insane. Guys, I hope you enjoy the stories today. Don't shake your heads too hard, and remember, if you start feeling your blood boiling in this episode, which you might, just breathe. Let's dive in, guys. So my wife and I have been together for 5 years, married for 2, with no kids. We have a happy, amazing relationship. I can't recall a single time that we've ever argued to the point of a breakup or divorce. But this issue, however, is causing me to reconsider the health of our relationship. So since my wife and I have been together, I've worked as a manager for a restaurant chain. I'm also an extremely passionate aviation enthusiast in my free time. I've spent thousands of dollars on flight textbooks, simulation gear, and even built my own A330 setup. Now, I've never actually flown a plane or started flight training, but I've considered it for a long time. Even though my skills are not a career, I still consider myself as adept or possibly even more knowledgeable than the average pilot. So with that being said, here's where the problem arises. My wife and I were invited to a male coworker's house for a barbecue. My wife is a senior software tech for a COVID startup. She's worked there since 2020, a lucky catch after she was laid off from her previous job due to the virus. It was my first time meeting many of her now close coworkers, and I'd assumed that she had talked about me before, but as we were cycling through introductions, I became less sure. We make our way down the line to the host of the party, a new male hire that she's grown close with. We exchanged casual conversation, and Greg, the host, asked what I do for a living. That's when my wife chimes in with, oh, he manages insert fast food chain. And it certainly comes with some benefit. I assume she's referring to the free food. Now, she said that in a voice that implied that nothing was wrong with what she said. And hearing her say that, I very quickly corrected her and told him that I'm actually an airline pilot. My wife already knows how insecure I am about my job and how I'd much rather be introduced by my hobby. I've told her many times, and I expect her to respect my wishes. I've earned the title of pilot through my 500+ hours on simulations and thousands of dollars put into my craft. I think it's incredibly disrespectful for her to not acknowledge my skills and my training. Just because I don't have the title of a pilot on an overpriced piece of paper doesn't mean I'm not a pilot. So I laugh it off with Greg. I told him that my wife was often forgetful, and he seemed to brush it off casually. At this point, I'm fuming, but I don't go much further than exchanging some nasty glances at my wife for the rest of the night. As we pack into the car to leave, the argument starts. She asked me why I did that to her. She then said that there's no point in lying about my job and says I don't deserve my title as a pilot because I'm not a professional who went through schooling. I told her that she's completely insensitive to the work I've done and she'll never understand what it's like to study so much. She's currently on the couch as I type this. So am I the a-hole for asking to be respected? Okay guys, so this was such a ridiculous post that I had to share it. And yes, OP is the a-hole for expecting his wife to lie for him and then getting mad at her when she didn't lie for him. Like, if he got upset to the point where he had to sit down to write this post and then argue with his wife, maybe it's time for you to follow your dreams, sir, and become an actual airline pilot. Like, if OP considers himself a pilot after all those hours of studying and playing flight simulations, then I should be able to consider myself a professional race car driver, due to all the hours that I've put into video game racing simulations, right? And listen, I get it, okay? The older you get, the more you see your friends and family around you move on with their lives. And some people have really cool, really high-paying, respected job titles, and that can be super intimidating. But it doesn't make you any less of a human being a restaurant manager versus a software engineer. And I also want to say that it's going to be super duper embarrassing and awkward when OP hangs out more with that group of friends and it comes out that he's not an actual pilot. So a while ago, I had some of my friends over at my house, and one of my friends invited one of her other friends to come over. She had her MacBook on my couch, and when I sat down, I broke it. Since it was completely my fault, I offered to pay her the money for it, and she agreed. She got it 3 years ago, and it cost her around $2,200 at the time. At that, I told her that I'd wire her the money in a week to her bank account. So a few days later, she emailed me saying that as per our conversation, she's expecting $2,700 that I've agreed to. Now, I don't know why she added the extra money, so I got her phone number from my friend, and I called her only to find her telling me that she's now expecting me to pay for a brand new, upgraded MacBook, since she was upgrading anyway. She told me that I owe her, and it's the least I could do. She then said if I don't agree to do that, she'll be suing me in small claims court. I got some advice from a friend, and I did some research, specifically for repairing the screen for the MacBook, and for her particular model, it's around $310 for the screen, plus the labor cost. So I wrote her back saying that since she didn't accept my initial offer of $2,200, I'm withdrawing that offer and offering to pay for the repair cost. At that, she lost it. She sent me an email calling me names and saying that she's gonna take me to court to get it settled. I got served a few days later, and I went to court. I told the judge that I gave her 3 options to choose from. Number 1, either to write her a check for a brand new one, which was $2,200. Number 2, get her a refurbished one from an Apple or third party or even used, which would be around $1,400. Or 3, I would fix her current MacBook since the screen's the only thing affected here, and it would cost around $300 plus money for labor. I then give the judge the email I printed out. The email where she's refusing my $2,200, demanding the $2,700, calling me a bitch, and saying we'll go to court. I also had the screenshots for the price quotes from different websites. I also told him that when I offered at the very beginning to get her a new one from the Apple Store, she said no, I want the money in cash. When I told her that I'd give her $2,200 for a new one, she said okay, but later came asking for $2,700 because she wants to upgrade. I tried to show him how it's clearly visible that she's trying to take advantage of me. She then had the audacity to give the judge attitude, demanding he make me pay for the cost of a new MacBook, which really pissed the judge off and helped my case, I guess. So after listening to both of us, he rules that I pay 50% of the repair cost since she negligently left her laptop on the couch. I will only be paying not more than $200 to $250 for the whole thing. And I honestly loved her look at the end as we walked out. Okay, so you know the house is full of people who may or may not be drinking. So why the heck are you carelessly leaving such an expensive laptop on the couch cushion? Like that's an accident waiting to happen, and honestly, I'm thinking the entitled girl was hoping to get a brand new laptop that night. And I'm happy to hear that all she got was $200 in the end, because what she did to OP was such a crappy thing to do. Like, OP accepted full responsibility right then and there, said she was gonna pay for the cost, but little Miss Karen decided to take it to the next level and take her to small claims courts, and that's what she gets. Okay, so the next 2 posts are about absolutely insane parents, guys, and the first post, from when OP posted it to when they went to court, spans over 6 months. I'm just telling you guys to save some confusion. So my daughter is 9 years old, and we share custody by alternating weeks. Recently, my daughter says that her back hurts now, and her arm is tingling. I have a doctor's appointment for her on Monday, and in the meantime, I'm just trying to remain calm, hoping it's nothing too serious. I confronted my ex-husband about this, and all he would say in one text message was that his new wife did not like how my daughter slouches at the dinner table, and she made him do something about it. So my ex-husband and his new wife made my daughter a back brace out of wood and steel and forced her to wear it to correct her posture. They aren't doctors, and there's nothing wrong with her that she needs a brace, and I'm so mad that I'm having a hard time focusing and I just want to kill them. I called into work while I was trying to get this sorted, and one of my coworkers has a cousin who's a lawyer, and she knows someone who's able to help me and file the paperwork for full custody. When we went to court, my husband played dumb, but his visits got reduced to supervised and he was ordered to take a parenting class. My daughter went to physiotherapy. Eventually, the court reinstated his visitation when he swore that he learned his lesson and he was sorry. And with his otherwise clean record, the court agreed. I gave my daughter her own cell phone so she could contact me whenever she needed to. On her second visit, it happened again. This time, the brace they had her wear was steel and fabric instead of wood. And they took her phone too, so she couldn't contact me. The next night, she left when they weren't looking, and she went up the street to a neighbor who's a police officer. The neighbor called the paramedics and her coworkers, and they had to cut the brace off my daughter. My ex-husband and his wife were arrested. They got out quickly, but they've been charged, and they're infants with CPS. My ex lost all visitation and custody of our daughter, and I'm working on making it permanent. Unfortunately, my daughter's shoulder was dislocated from the brace. It set back her rehab, and a part of her arm is still numb and tingling. She needed surgery, and she's recovering. She's always played sports, did dance, but the doctor thinks that she'll never be able to lift her arm all the way up again. I hate my ex, and he'll see her again over my dead body. Right now, I'm focusing on my daughter while my lawyer takes care of things, and that's my update. So guys, reading this post that was shared to me absolutely breaks my heart. And all I can say is both the ex-husband and his psycho wife need to be locked up forever. Like guys, it makes my blood boil knowing that these two idiots, these two grown adults that have kids, thought it was a great idea to create a freaking torture device. Because that's what it is, and basically make the daughter wear it. And I couldn't imagine what went through the neighbor's mind when she opened the door to see a girl in that contraption, and I just hope the girl is safe with her mom now. So my mom is 53 years old and she has lung disease, specifically chronic obstructive pulmonary disease, COPD. She's been ill for the past few years, but it's gotten progressively worse recently. My mom has been chain smoking all of her life. Smoking is her life and she can't stop, even with doctor's warning. Our family got tested to see if we're a match for a possible organ donation, and I was the only match. The doctor spoke with me privately and told me that it's my choice, my lung, my life, and that I wouldn't be a bad son or person if I denied it. And if I did, they would tell my mom that I'm not a match. Now, what's making this choice so difficult is that my mom has her ups and downs, but mostly, she's been treating me terribly all my life. The doctor also said that I wouldn't be able to partake in strenuous physical activity for the rest of my life, like playing competitive sports, etc. I made the mistake of telling my mom that I'm a match, and my mother is expecting me and demanding that I give her one of my organs. Now I'm conflicted. I don't want to regret being the cause of my mom's potential death or take the blame from my family as her health declines. My dad told me that he'll never forgive me if I don't go through with it, and that I'm dead to him and shouldn't expect to keep living with them, as now I'm an adult, if I don't give up a lung, essentially. With all this said, transplant rules are there for very specific reasons. An irresponsible chain smoker will never receive a healthy lung, not until they prove to themselves and the doctors that health is a priority. My mom hasn't been willing to do that, so the doctors informed her that the procedure's not possible, even if I were to give her my lung. She's already failed multiple tests and she disobeys doctor's orders, and she thinks they'll agree to cut me open just because I'm her son. The thing is, I've told her no, and I have the doctor's support, so what does she and my dad do? They make my life as difficult as possible, trying to guilt trip me, hoping that I'll do the right thing for my family, as she's my mother. So the past few months have been a nightmare. The holidays this year were depressing with no celebrations at all. Forget about gifts and parties. I don't remember the last time I had a genuine smile or laugh. In the new year, I accompanied my mom to the hospital for another checkup as her health declined. We hardly speak now, ever since I told her that she won't be getting my lung. I drove with her car because she's in no condition to do so and she always criticizes my driving. Everything I do is nitpicked and prodded repeatedly. Like I said, we barely speak now. But that won't stop her from speaking about me indirectly, like I'm not even present, in a passive-aggressive way. One statement keeps repeating in my head. She said this while we were driving. She said, "If this illness doesn't kill me soon, it'll be in a car wreck with you driving. Either way, both could have been prevented." She said this while coughing uncontrollably. Do you see how insensitive and manipulative she is? She degrades and tries to guilt trip me all the time. Anyways, we get to the doctor's office, and after the usual workup, the hard truth comes out. The doctor told her again that even if I said yes, there's no way they would be going through with the operation due to the evidence of clear coercion. She can't help herself, and she would argue with me in front of the hospital staff, telling me to tell the doctors that it's my lung and I can do what I want, and to just give it to her. It got so loud to the point that the nurses overheard her threats towards me and informed security. So what does my mom do next? She goes crazy and starts yelling belligerently at the doctor, making absurd accusations and threatening to sue if he doesn't give her the transplant, saying that I agreed to it, which I don't. Everyone except her and my dad knows that she has no credibility or basis for a case. She did this to herself, and I refuse to feel guilty for caring about my health and future. After that hospital visit, she kind of started to try to quit smoking. As you know, withdrawal's intense, and it's difficult to say the least. That means she's impatient, frustrated, and she complains about everything. She's taking her discontent out on me by name-calling, belittling, and taking away my privileges. Anything she has power over is used against me, like internet, phone plan, car access, even opening my mail. Dad just makes things worse by siding with her. They are perfectly destructive for each other. And all I want is to be far, far away from this soon-to-be burst toxic bubble. So yesterday, I found out that she met with a lawyer 2 times. I came home from school and overheard my mom bragging to Dad about how she's gonna get back at the hospital for rejecting the transplant. I tried sneaking to my room to avoid them, but she saw me and told me about everything in a boastful manner. She spoke on how serious the lawyer took her and that she's credible. Now, I knew it was all nonsense when she said, "I've read articles online and stories of patients being discarded like trash, all because the damn hospital doesn't want to take unnecessary risks to spare their reputation." She then praised herself for lasting 16 days without smoking, and she talked about how she deserved a new lung. This is the exact mentality that I talk about. She feels entitled to another organ. It's ridiculously delusional. I then asked her where she got the money to pay for the lawyer, and she said, "Oh, I just used your money that I was saving up for your graduation gift and college. Since, you made it clear that family's not precious at all." And that's when I walked inside my room. I felt so dirty just being around so much toxicity that I actually took 2 showers that night. I felt so much better after calming down and remembered that there's a happy future ahead. All I have to do is be patient. I was still amazed at the confidence she has in this case. Now, she is my mother, and a part of me feels bad, but enough is enough. If she somehow takes them to court, I'm sure the judge is gonna have a hard time not laughing in her face. Right now, the last thing I want is for her to waste someone else's lung because it will be ruined. I know that if she gets a new lung, she'll go right back to smoking, seeing as she has a second chance. I kind of feel like sabotaging her smoke-free 16-day streak by leaving a lit cigarette and tempting her. But as enticing as that sounds, I won't because I'm not like my parents and I'll never be. One day, I was working on some homework in my room and I went to the restroom. I usually leave my laptop locked, but completely forgot this time. My mom walks into my room for whatever reason, looks at my laptop and starts snooping around and found a few chats with my friends in a friends group. I come out of the restroom and see her with a red face filled with rage. She then yells while coughing and gasping, "You talk about me to strangers? How could you? How dare you?" At that, I was stunned. I felt the world spinning as I stood there speechless. So we get into an argument, and the only thing on my mind is how she violated my privacy. She then mentioned that she wasn't violating my privacy and that she was just trying to Google something. My dad heard all the commotion, and that's when they both turned on me. I wasn't answering their questions because my mom was behaving like a child while coughing all over the place. They ganged up on me, calling me nasty names, and that's when I snapped and screamed, "Yes, I write about you and your abuse and tell people because that's the only way I know how to cope with this." Her face got even more red, and for a second, I thought she was gonna cough up one of her smoked up lungs. She then went to the kitchen to get some water, and I followed her to tell her to never use my laptop again. That's when she throws another fit and she smashes 2 dish plates all over the floor. I turn to walk away, cutting the bottom of my right foot really bad on a shard. And that's when my mom starts crying. Can you believe it? So Dad helps me out, but without continuing to blame me saying, "This is all your fault. If you had agreed to give her your lung in the first place and supported your mom, we wouldn't be here." I guess it was all a matter of time. With my mom facing death with her poor deteriorating health, she finally blew up, and it was directed towards me. Maybe all those delusions wore off, where she believed that there was a case to sue the hospital for negligence. I don't know, I'm just in shock at how rapidly my life took a turn for the worst. I've been keeping my distance and staying positive, and my foot's healing quickly with no infection. My mom left me alone and hasn't been bothering me. She's sort of love bombing, but not as much as the first 3 to 5 days after the incident. It's obvious, and I don't fall for it. My mom coughed up blood this morning and she went to the hospital. The doctor put her on some new medication and she's still smoke-free, or rather she says she is. Her health has been declining for a while now, and without a transplant, it doesn't look good. But there is no transplant because the doctors don't trust her anymore. So no new lung for you to waste, Mom. My dad is still enabling her like usual. Yeah, so all I can say is that's definitely an emotion-filled experience for OP to go through. And also, judging by Mom's personality, there's a good chance that if OP did go through with a lung transplant, it would definitely be a waste because Mom might just go back to chain smoking again, destroying a perfectly healthy lung. And listen, all I can say is if I were to have kids, and if my kids were a match to save my life, I wouldn't 100% pull what these parents are pulling. And honestly, I wouldn't even take their organ if that was an option. Like, I've lived my life, you go ahead and live yours to the fullest. And I definitely would not in a million years guilt trip my kids into giving me one of their organs. Especially if I was in OP's mom's shoes and I did this to myself by chain smoking my whole life. And that, my friends, brings us to another end of our / entitled people. Guys, I hope you enjoyed today's stories. I hope you didn't shake your heads too hard. And if you liked it, hit that like button and subscribe if you're not subscribed already. And if you missed yesterday's episode on the channel, it's an r/ malicious compliance, where a Karen steals from OP and dares OP to sue her, and OP destroys her life. Guys, it's a crazy story as always, so go check it out if you haven't, and myself and Stevie Boy will see you guys in the next one. We love you.